Hey friends, welcome to today's video. Today we are testing two brand new concealers from Sephora. Super excited about this. I purchased these both because they both piqued my interest. I always love when I see new concealers available. I know that concealer can be a challenging product for us over the age of 35. I will be 40 in less than a year, so I am noticing, I need the perfect formula of concealer. So I thought I would test these out. I'm gonna wear one on one side of the face, the other on the other. I'm gonna give you my thoughts and opinion about the product, and then we'll test it and see how it wears throughout the day. So the two concealers that I'm talking about is the new concealer from KVD Beauty. This is the Full Coverage Apple Weight Light Concealer, I believe is the name. Of course, I'll have it listed and linked. I picked up the shade Medium 126, and then I also have the LYS Triple Fix Full Coverage Brightening Concealer, and I picked up two shades in this. I picked up the shade MN3, and I picked up the shade MG5, so we will see which one is the better match. Now, before we get started in the application, let's kind of go over the 411 on each product. We will start with the KVD Beauty Concealer. So this concealer comes in 32 shades. It retails for $28. It is described as being an extreme long wear crease resistant concealer with the same hydrating lightweight full coverage as the KVD Beauty Iconic Good Apple Foundation. I haven't actually tried that foundation, so I don't really know what that means. I can't really compare it to that product. It is described as having a full coverage and natural finish. Let's see a couple of ingredient callouts. It says it's free of parabens, formaldehydes, formaldehyde releasing agents, phthalates, mineral oil. The full list of ingredients, I'll have it linked. Again, the product will be linked in the description box if you want to dive in and check out ingredients. It says it has apple extract, which is a rich antioxidant to help nourish the delicate eye area. I did not know that. Okay, so let's move on to the LYS Concealer. So the LYS Concealer retails for $18 and it comes in 25 shades. It is described as being a luxuriously rich, ultra creamy concealer that helps visibly brighten, conceal, and nourish the complexion with a skin-like finish. It also is described as having full coverage and a natural finish. It has some ingredient highlights that include ashwagandha. I'm familiar with that particular ingredient, but more as a supplement, so which apparently in cosmetics, it helps combat skin stress and visible signs of aging. One key ingredient that it has in here is hyaluronic acid, which we all know is a hydrating ingredient. So yeah, it's also a vegan, gluten-free, and cruelty-free product. Again, if you really want to dive deep and look at ingredients, both products will be linked down below. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we are going to zoom you guys in, and we will start with the KVD Beauty Concealer. This is what the component looks like. I have to say I actually really like the component. It kind of gives this idea of it being a dropper. That's what I expected, which wouldn't really make sense for a concealer, I suppose. I was kind of relieved to see that it was not. It has a typical concealer wand applicator. It has a slight little slant to it, but what I do appreciate about the slant is it's not a harsh slant. This almost has more of an oval kind of curved look to it. I'm gonna put it just a little bit in the corner. I'm not gonna drag it all the way under the eye. I really try to avoid doing that. I notice as I get a little older with concealer, you just gotta find that sweet spot of product. You can't apply too much because then it's gonna look heavy and cakey, yet you need to apply enough to get the coverage you want. So let me kind of touch with my finger and see. Ooh, so it's very lightweight, but it's creamy. It does feel like rich and luxe, but not thick, if that makes sense. I'm just using my Angie concealer brush, my Angie BK Beauty concealer brush to blend this in. This shade is definitely too light for me. Wow, the coverage is no joke. Incredible. And I'm just kind of pressing the brush and the product into the skin. I find with concealer, this is the best way to get the most coverage out of your product. If you pull and drag, you're just going to shear it out, which is a good technique if, again, you have applied too much and you're trying to shear it out. But if you're trying to get the most coverage from the product you apply, just press. What's great about this brush is it's really going to do all the work for you. All right, yes, we have a concealer that has full coverage, absolutely. It does not feel heavy. It does not feel... Okay, it blended out really easily. The shade is extremely light. That is my fault. All right, let's go ahead and clean up the hands and we're going to move on to the other side. So I just swatched both of these on my hand. I'm gonna go in with MN3. It's the lighter of the two. It does look a little off as well. It looks a little too golden and yellow for me for underneath my eye, but let's give it a try. So this component and packaging is really beautiful as well. Let me show you. I really like the packaging of this. They did a really beautiful job. It's like it's plastic, but it's got this frosted plastic. It just looks very luxe. It's got their signature triangle shape to it, which is really beautiful. All right, and then you also have kind of your standard concealer applicator. This as well has a slant, which I didn't mention before, but is really nice for the under eye area because it just really lays against the skin and the contours of your face perfectly. And we're gonna go into the inner corner and do the same thing. We're gonna apply about the same amount in the inner corner and kind of drag it just over about halfway. This concealer feels very lightweight. I would say even lighter than the KVD. All right, and let's go in with the same concealer brush. I'm gonna remove the product that I had on it from KVD Beauty, and we are going to do the same technique, which is, okay, so much lighter in texture and feel, less coverage initially. Okay, I'm gonna add the smallest dot for a little bit more coverage. Even though it has a little less coverage, the coverage is still sufficient. Now, what I don't like, I'm gonna say this right now, is when you pull the applicator out, it almost gets stuck and you kind of have to like pull it up. With components like this in the past, what I find when I do that is the product can kind of splatter or get, you pull it up and then all of a sudden some of it goes flying in the air. So be careful. I do think I saw a little droplet of it go onto my beauty table, which is not good when you're wearing a white sweater. So I just added a little more to get a tiny bit more coverage. There we go. Okay, that's good coverage. So now I'm getting about the level of coverage that I got from the KVD Beauty. All right, so now that we have both products underneath the eyes, let me give you my thoughts on how they initially look. It's kind of difficult because the KVD Beauty is so light. The color is such a stark contrast from what I actually need, that it looks heavier for that reason. But if I take that away, I do see that in the inner corner, it looks a little bit heavier. The finish is definitely more matte here. The Love Yourself Concealer LYS is still setting, so if I give it a few more minutes, perhaps it'll dry down to a bit more of a natural matte finish. Let's actually do that. Let me come back in a couple minutes once both of them have had time to set. Okay, so we're back. I haven't powdered yet. I wanted to wait to see how the concealers set on their own before I mattify them, and the KVD Beauty definitely has more of a matte finish, where the LYS has more of a natural finish. It doesn't look mattifying and it doesn't look really creamy or hydrating either. I'm gonna go ahead and set my foundation and my concealer. I'm gonna use, let's use the Laura Mercier Secret Brightening powder. This is actually, intended to go underneath the eyes, which is really nice. And I love this powder. It's a very lightweight setting powder. And I'm gonna take the smallest amount with my BK Beauty 108 brush. I just kind of pressed it into the lid, and then I'm also tapping it off onto my finger so that any excess powder falls off, and we're just gonna lightly set. So yeah, they both look, as far as coverage, I'm gonna say the KVD Beauty gives more. I'm also gonna say it looks more full coverage and a little heavier. It doesn't quite look so natural. The LYS is beautiful. It has the right amount of coverage and it looks more natural. Okay, I'm gonna go and apply the rest of my makeup and I'll be right back. Okay, so now that we're back and I have all my makeup on, the concealers have had plenty of time to kind of set and settle. I have set them both with the same powder. Looking at the two, I think the biggest difference, aside from the shade and color, is that the KVD seems to offer more coverage than the LYS concealer does, but not to say that the LYS doesn't offer enough. I'm perfectly happy with the amount of coverage that I have here, but the KVD definitely gives more of a full coverage, heavier look. I wouldn't say that it looks heavy or cakey, but if I had to compare the two, I think the KVD definitely looks more like a heavier concealer than the LYS. But it is 10:30 a.m., so I'm gonna go about my day. I will do a couple of check-ins throughout the day and we will see how both concealers are wearing. All right, so it's just after 2 p.m. This is my first check-in. I wanted to give you guys an update on how the concealers look. I mean, overall, they both look pretty good, but if I have to compare the two and if we're doing kind of like a battle of the concealers, I definitely think the LYS looks better. I feel like the KVD is starting to make my eye makeup transfer a bit. When I look into the mirror, I see a little bit of my eyeliner and shadow transferring. I use the same products on this eye, so that leads me to believe that it's an issue with my concealer, not with my eye pencil, because I have none of those issues over here. So also I think that the KVD is creasing a little bit. You can see it's creasing the lines here. You don't really see too much of that. I mean, you do see my lines there, but when I pull and tug down, you don't actually see product settling in. Well, actually, maybe you do a little bit. Overall, they both look good, but the LYS is definitely performing better at this point. So I will check in with you guys at the end of the day before I wash my makeup off, but that is how we are looking now. Welcome back. It's 8 p.m. So the concealer and makeup has been on for about 10 hours. I did do 2 touch-ups today. I just used a pressed La Mer powder that I have in my bag. I touched up all over my face and a little bit underneath my eyes. Overall, the concealers compare very similarly to each other. They both offer pretty decent coverage, with the KVD offering more coverage than the Love Yourself concealer. They both do feel very lightweight in consistency though. I do think that the LYS leans a lighter weight consistency, almost more of like, if you imagine kind of like what a serum concealer feels like, that just really thin, lightweight consistency. That's the best way to describe that concealer in my opinion. The KVD, on the other hand, though, does feel lightweight, especially considering the amount of coverage that you get from that concealer. In terms of the wearability, they both wore pretty well, but the KVD definitely did look heavier, and it did cause my eyeliner and my shadow underneath my lower lash line to transfer a bit. And in fact, when I look at my makeup now, it almost looks like all of the liner on my right eye, which is where I had that concealer, it's almost like all the eyeliner is gone. You can barely see it, but the liner is still pretty well intact on the left eye. There is some transference, but nothing like I experienced on the right side. So that is something to take note of. Overall, I think both these concealers are pretty nice concealers. Are they holy grails? Oh my gosh, I love them. I'm not quite sure yet. I mean, I guess the answer to that is no, right? Because I would know off the bat after day 1, but they definitely are concealers that I'm going to continue to use and just kind of play around with more, try different powders and see how I feel. I think they're both good concealers, but those are the key differences between the two. I hope that you guys found this video helpful. If you have tried either of these concealers and you have an opinion on either, let us know in the comment section below which one you've tried, how you like to apply it. You know, there's so many different things that can impact the wearability and the results that you get. Your brush, to use a sponge, how much of the product you use, what do you use underneath it, what are you using on top of it. So I definitely will be playing more with these concealers and look forward to sharing more of my thoughts as I use them more. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope to see you guys in my next one. Have a beautiful day. Bye.